Hello and welcome to MeowBall. This is a game I made in Afterburner where you play as a little orange spherical cat. The main objective of this game is to roll around collecting fish and mice before the time runs out. Let's just jump right into it. So here's the start screen when you first get into the game. All of the GUIs you will see in this game were implemented with I'm GUI. Here you can see the title of the game, MeowBall, as well as some rules. Fish are worth 1 point, mice are worth 3, every fish or mouse collected adds 2 seconds to the timer, as well as going out of bounds deducts 2 seconds from the timer. Named after my own cat, I am going to choose the name Finnegan. Since the game will start pretty quickly once I hit begin, I will pause the screen right after I hit it so we can talk about what's going on before we continue. So right now we are looking at a screenshot of how the game looks as soon as you hit begin. As you heard, as soon as you hit begin, you get a little sound effect to signal the start of the game, which I implemented using Erklang. We can also see our little cat player that I made in Blender. In the upper left-hand corner, you can see our score GUI. Here we are able to see our cat's name that we selected, as well as the target goal and level, and of course our actual score and timer. The map for this game is procedurally generated and will be different at every startup or level. However, there are limits put in place to make sure that the map will still make sense. For instance, there are limits put on the X, Y, and Z coordinates so that the cubes don't spawn outside the plane or that they don't spawn way high in the sky. There is also a set number of cubes that will spawn, 70, so that there won't be too many or too little. Additionally, I made it so that at least some of the cubes would for sure spawn on the ground, just in random locations. This ensures that no matter how many levels you play, they will all be a little different while still making sense. This also makes my game replayable rather than dead end. This same logic applies to the fish and mice that get spawned in. The only additional thing is that they will only spawn on what are deemed as surfaces, whether that be the ground or the tops of the cubes. Therefore, they will also always spawn in different locations. Like the cubes, there is a set number of fish, 90, and mice, 30, that will spawn. So back to the topic of the score GUI. Since there are 90 fish worth 1 point each and 30 mice worth 3 points each, 90 times 1 equals 90 and 30 times 3 equals 90. 90 plus 90 equals 180 total points able to be accumulated. If each level's target goal increments by 5, that means 180 divided by 5 equals 36 total possible levels. Right now, we are just on level 1 though, obviously. To advance, we would need to collect at least 5 points. As you will also see shortly, every time we collect a fish or mouse, there will flash a little +2 next to the timer to indicate we added 2 seconds to our time, as well as one of 3 randomly selected messages displayed underneath everything. Similarly, if we were to attempt to go out of the bounds of the map, there will be a little -2 next to the timer, as well as one of 3 different randomly selected messages displayed. So let's go ahead and see how it works. So here you can see that we successfully cleared level 1. As you saw, our cat is able to roll and jump around using the WASD and space keys. The cat's movement is physics driven using NVIDIA's PhysX engine. Specifically, I created a dynamic rigid body with a spherical collision shape for the cat, which lets it roll and respond naturally to forces. For the cubes, I use static rigid bodies with box geometries so they stay in place and can be collided with. Also, as you heard, every time you collect a mouse or fish, you hear a meow sound effect, and every time you go out of bounds, you hear a laser-like sound effect and are teleported back to the starting position. Since we cleared the level, we also got to hear some clapping. This GUI shows our last score as well as our overall stats. Underneath that, the user is prompted with whether they would like to continue or not. If the user were to select no, the game would close. If the user were to select yes, the game would continue on to the next level. For demonstration purposes, we are going to select yes. So as you can see, we failed to reach the next target goal and heard the game over sound effect. Similarly to the last GUI, we still get to see our overall stats. However, this time we are prompted with whether we would like to retry or not. If the user were to select no, the game would close. If the user were to select yes, the game would restart from level 1. Again, for demonstration purposes, we are going to select yes. As mentioned earlier, I created our main cat character using Blender. I found that there really aren't many spherical cat models out there, let alone games that include them, so I found that creating my own was best. However, I actually created not just one cat model, but two. However, one of these cats is only accessible through a little Easter egg. In order to see this model, the user must name their cat Dog. It doesn't matter whether it is uppercase, lowercase, or both. Upon doing this, the user will get to play as a cat wearing a dog ears headband. Additionally, instead of hearing a meow when they collect a fish or mouse, they will hear a bark. Let's go ahead and see how that will look. So that is MeowBall. As you can tell, the levels are relatively easy in the beginning, but get harder the farther you go. This game was heavily inspired by my own orange cat, Finnegan. I wanted to create something that was silly, replayable, and overall fun. I hope you enjoy this game as much as I enjoyed making it. Next up, I will showcase some uninterrupted gameplay so you get a feel for how the game really is.